everyone, it's Michelle Caruana from Play Cafe Academy and Profitable Play. And I'm creating this video because the other day I posted both a TikTok and a YouTube short. It was the same video on both platforms, and it sparked quite a conversation. So within a few minutes of posting, both on YouTube and TikTok, there were dozens and dozens of comments. And while the answers were pretty scattered across the board, I'd say one thing was really consistent among all of the answers. And that was that no matter what opinion somebody had, they felt very strongly about it. So they had a pretty, again, strong reaction to the question, or rather the situation that I was posing to them. And because it sparked quite a conversation, and because it's been a pretty big topic, especially lately in Playmaker Society, both on our coaching calls and in our group, I wanted to talk about it because I've been putting a lot of thought into this. And I think this conversation and this policy that we're going to discuss today is highly nuanced, and it depends on a couple different factors. So especially if you're in the planning stages of your indoor playground, this video is for you because whatever reaction you have to this situation, I want to make sure that your space and your revenue streams and how you design your business is aligned with that reaction and with your values and what you're comfortable with. So before we get into that conversation, let's just watch the video together in case you haven't seen it yet. All right, I'm going to hit play. Parents, how would you handle this one? So my name is Michelle and I teach indoor playground owners, and I have a membership with just under 300 indoor playground owners. And this topic came up on our Zoom call last night, so I have to ask. So let's say you are at a play cafe or an indoor playground with your small child, and it's a pretty small space, so you're aware of everyone else who's in the facility alongside you. And let's say an adult walks in, so it could be a man or a woman, but they don't have kids. And let's say they just order a coffee or a snack and just kind of sit down and watch the play area. So they're not interacting with any of the other guests there. They're just kind of sitting watching the play area. So they're not doing anything wrong per se, but you just get a bad vibe in your gut. So I would love to know, as a parent, how would you handle the situation? And more importantly, how would you like the owner or the manager to handle the situation? So please let me know in the comments. Okay, so essentially, again, in that video, I'm asking for feedback because, again, this is something that everyone seems to have a really strong opinion on. And my hypothesis was that parents would feel just as strongly as the owners in Playmaker Society because, again, this is a pretty big conversation that we have quite a bit. So in this video, again, especially if you're in the planning stages of your indoor playground, the takeaway that I want you to get is to make sure that your space is aligned with whatever your reaction is. So again, I think this conversation is highly nuanced and really depends on 4 factors. So the first factor that's going to kind of determine if you can safely allow adults without children, or you should allow adults with children into your space, is the layout of your space. And the first person that always comes to mind, or the first business that comes to mind whenever we have this conversation, is always Tal from Art Factory Play Cafe in Virginia. And I'm so lucky. Not only is she a good friend and she's been in, Playmaker Society for years now, I actually had the chance to visit her a couple years ago. And it was such a blessing. Her space is so beautiful. It's huge. And she has so much going on. She is such an inspiration to me and to everyone else in the group. But Tal actually really reminds us often that a huge chunk of her revenue actually comes from her adult guests that do not have kids. And this is partially because of the layout of her space. So when you walk into Tail Space, you see a cafe to the right, and it is a full cafe. So espresso offerings, coffee offerings, baked goods, all that kind of stuff. And then on the left is an art studio. So there's seating, there's adult art projects that somebody can pick and choose from. There's child art projects. There's a lot of space and a lot of seating. And then if you go down the hallway, so past the cafe, past the seating area, the play area is actually in a different room. So it's closed off from the cafe seating area. Now there is additional seating in the play area room so that if a parent with a child comes in and grabs a coffee, they can still sit down and enjoy that coffee and see their child from the playroom. But the difference is that it's closed off, right? The play area is not visible from the main seating area. And that's one of the reasons that, again, Tail can safely accommodate adults without kids, and no one's going to feel weird about it. And that kind of comes twofold, right? So adults without kids don't really want to sit in a cafe that is super loud with tons of noise and chaos, right? So they're sheltered from that noise. And then the parents with kids are, not looking over their shoulder, making sure there's not an adult without a child kind of hovering around watching the play area, right? So there's that safety aspect. And people also have to pay extra to use the play area. So that provides kind of a barrier such that an adult without a child, there is no logical reason why they would purchase a ticket to enter the play area without a child. So again, that provides some safety measures. It provides some separation for both the adult guests and the parents with children. So I think that's really important. And another space that comes to mind is Little Beans in Chicago. So again, I think when a lot of people were listening to my story and listening to my, hypothetical scenario, even though we deal with it all the time, I think people were picturing, walking into a space and everything kind of being as one. So for example, Tiffany's space, she owns My Play Cafe in Kansas City, Missouri. And when you walk in, you immediately see the play area, you immediately see the cafe, and it's a half wall between the cafe and the play area. So you really can't sit anywhere in the cafe where the play area isn't visible. So I believe Tiffany, I don't think she has a specific policy in place, but I'll have to double check with her. But she does encourage takeout if somebody just wants to come in and get a coffee or get a baked good. And Christine from Sweet Pea's Play Cafe in Kokomo, Indiana is another great example. So not only does she offer takeout and curbside, she also offers DoorDash now. So if anyone just wants one of her delicious lattes or something like that, they can place a delivery order. So again, there's really no reason for somebody to come in as an adult without a child. So there are different ways to kind of integrate these policies depending on the layout of your space and depending on what you're willing to offer. And of course, if you don't have a full cafe with offerings that are made for adults, such as coffee or entails situation art projects or something like that, then there really, again, wouldn't be the need to have anything other than a policy that says no adults without children are permitted in this space. So I'm really talking specifically to those businesses that have cafes as a large source of income for their business. And that kind of brings me to my next point. And that's primary business function and revenue streams. And I'm just reading from my notes so I don't forget anything. So a big question that I want you to think about when you're designing your space and when you're setting up your business is what your main revenue streams are going to be. So is it going to be open play? Is it going to be a membership-based business? And if so, is it going to be members only, or are you going to offer a hybrid between memberships and open play passes? Is a cafe going to be a major offering, which I always, always, always recommend. And again, you can still do it safely. And you're allowed to create these policies that, again, make sure everyone is safe and making sure there aren't strange adults, hovering around the play area if that's something that you're not comfortable with, which of course, why would you be? So again, I want you to really think if you had a strong reaction to that video and you're like, nope, no way, I do not want any adults that do not have children within our age range in our facility, then maybe you want to rethink either the layout of your space. So put the play area in a back room that's not visible by your cafe, or maybe you want to scale back your cafe offerings or not have a cafe at all, in which case you may want to replace that income by being solely membership based or add educational classes or something like that. So I really want you to consider your revenue streams, especially if you had that strong reaction that so many people had to that hypothetical video. I also want to talk about the nature of play because to me, this factors heavily into the decision about, again, whether or not we can safely allow adults in and out of our cafe without kids. And that's whether or not parents are required to stay with their child or if you have a large number of drop-off children. So for example, Alara, the owner of Project Play in Texas, she has drop-off kids all day in her facility. So she has discovery school, she's doing like date nights and things like that. She has all sorts of drop-off programs. And even though she doesn't have a cafe at this time, if she did, I don't think that she would safely be able to accommodate a lot of adult guests in her facility because it would be overwhelming for her staff to make sure they're keeping track of multiple kids when there are all of these unknown faces coming in and out of the facility. Unless, of course, there was a closed off classroom, and that's the primary space where the class or the camp or the drop off program focuses. So, again, all of these things kind of work together to create your perfect space. So, we're bringing layout back into the discussion. But if you're planning on having a co working space, so the parents are a little bit more unplugged, they're not necessarily navigating the space with their child, or if you're going to do a drop off program, especially if the drop off kids are going to be roaming the same facility, roaming the play area with less supervision than a parent would be able to provide, then I think you want to definitely reconsider both your layout and your policy around allowing adults without children into your facility. So again, that's really something to consider. And that's something a lot of people don't think about. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is your location. So are there other cafes nearby, right? Is there a Dunkin' Donuts next to you that an adult could logically go to if they want a coffee or if they want a baked good? And what are their hours? Or are you the only cafe within a 10-mile radius, which would make you a lot more of a logical choice for an adult in the area seeking a coffee or a baked good or an art project or something like that? Are you in a business park or a plaza where you're the only one offering coffee? For us, we shared a wall with a restaurant, meaning that all of the restaurant workers would kind of come into our cafe, order a coffee, and we would actually ask that they take their coffee to go. So we didn't open our cafe seating for them because, again, our space was similar to Tiffany's in that there was no way in our cafe where you could sit where the play area wasn't completely visible because we had a half wall dividing them and there was really no separation in terms of visual lines between the play area and the cafe. And I think I started talking about Little Beans and then I got distracted, but Little Beans is another perfect example of a business that has a separation between the cafe and the play area. So when somebody walks in, they immediately see the cafe and you can order coffee, you can order snacks, you can order food. And then there's an extra fee to enter the play area, which is separated by a glass wall, but also a door. So again, similar to TAL, it provides a barrier and it provides a little bit more safety than a space that's a little bit more open like ours was, so they can more safely allow adults without children into their area or into their facility. So I want to go back to the example of TAL at Art Factory and Play Cafe in Virginia. So what she mentioned to me is that one of the biggest decision factors that she had in wanting to accommodate adult guests who didn't have kids, and the reason why she put her play area in the back of her facility is, well, first of all, she actually didn't have a play area when she first opened. She added that later on as a service and convenience to her customers, but also because she has a ton of businesses nearby that don't have other cafes where they can go in and sit down and have a cup of coffee and a conversation with a friend. She is operating next to a very large area hospital. There's a lot of local businesses. And again, that is a major, substantial chunk of her revenue. So she designed her business as such. And when she went to add a play area, again, she made sure there was that extra level of safety and that extra division between the adult space and the family space. And there are so many other factors that we talk about inside of Playmaker Society, but I know there are so many potential and prospective play owners watching this channel. So this is just one more thing I wanted to add to your list of things to consider when you're planning your space, when you're designing your revenue streams, all that good stuff. Again, especially if you had a pretty strong reaction to that hypothetical scenario and that video. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to comment below. And if you're ready to have a support system behind you when it comes to launching your indoor playground, we would love to welcome you inside the Play Cafe Academy and Playmaker Society family. All of the information, all of my courses, templates, resources, coaching, consulting, all that stuff is linked in the video description right under the video wherever you are watching. All right, thank you so much for watching today's video. I look forward to connecting with you. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to do so you never miss a video. Have a great day.